Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. And just as a disclaimer, before I start talking about this article right here, I'm not an attorney. I don't give legal advice. I have no idea what I'm talking about, so don't listen to me. But I was inspired to read this article from Medical Economics called Why Some Doctors Get Sued More Than Others. And this is from July 11th, 2003. So that's pretty much almost 20 years ago. It's crazy how time passes by. And I'll be honest, I think many insightful articles on the internet were published around this time. And it's crazy how a 2003 article that has a lot of insights about um, the type of people who get sued, especially if you're in the medical field. It seems like we could have learned so much from this in the past 20 years, and we've kind of gone in the opposite direction, right? And I think as a society, we're less communicative and we focus too much on, oh, I'm so knowledgeable or I'm the best, right? And I learned about this article because I was listening to like a podcast or a live stream. I forget which one I was listening to. I was just turning up in the background, and then someone was saying, "Yeah, like there's a study that says doctors who screw up are likable, don't get sued as much as doctors who are knowledgeable but they don't talk or they're not communicative." I was like, "Whoa, that kind of like aligns with what I've been talking about." Not exactly, but it's amazing how your ability to along with others and not your skills can get you so far in life, right? Um, and again, I'm not saying don't be skilled in your field. I'm saying that it's more important to be communicable than it is knowledgeable. It's more important to be friendly and get along with others than it is to be the smartest person. And right? And so let's just go ahead and read this article from 2003, Why Some Doctors Get Sued More Than Others. Okay, so being an excellent clinician is no guarantee against malpractice claims. In fact, such simple interpersonal skills such as listening to your patients and showing respect and empathy may be equally important to keeping you out of court. In other words, nice doctors get sued less. Malpractice insurers and attorneys have long said this, and researchers from Vanderbilt University School of Medicine have proven it. They found a strong link between the number of patients complaints filed against doctors and the number of risk management events doctors were involved in. Um, so the 6-year study looked at the experiences of 645 physicians, two-thirds of them non-surgeons employed at a large medical center. The unsolicited complaints cited problems with communication, humaneness, clinical care, billing, access, and availability. And before I continue reading the article, they've done studies as far as like 30 to 40 years ago that talk about how the third leading cause of I don't know if it's death. I think it's death. Is medical error, and they actually have a word for it. So, iatrogenic disease. I don't know how you pronounce it, but the way that I pronounce it is iatrogenic disease. So, is a disease or harmful complication caused by a medical activity, such as diagnosis, intervention, error, or negligence. It can be caused by. So basically, they're basically saying that doctors are the third leading cause of death, if I remember correctly. And let me actually just type this in before I go any further. Third leading cause of death. Is that right? Yeah, that's what it says right here. Some studies suggest that medical errors are the third leading cause of death in the United States behind cancer and heart disease. Isn't that crazy? Like, I remember reading this like 20 years ago and it blew my mind. And so, again, so here's the thing, you can kind of be a bad doctor, and just as long as you're communicative, according to this, people will not sue you, right? But I just found it fascinating that there's so many screw ups in medicine, and again, we're all human, right? Like we don't know, like medical technology is far behind, like like the software industry, apparently, right? But let's go ahead and keep reading this. Where was I? Okay, so the risk management range from adverse incidents with the potential for legal action to those that involved actual expenses for documentation, expert witnesses, legal fees, settlements, and awards. The researchers found that less than 10% of the physicians generated more than half of the complaints. Again, less than 10% generated more than half the complaints, whilst 37% had no complaints lodged against them, right? So of the 135 events that resulted in malpractice claims, only 8% of the group nearly accounted for nearly half the lawsuit. So it seems like, you run a hospital and you have a group of 100 doctors. There's going to be about, a small percentage of them that are the cause of all the lawsuits. It seems like, again, which doctors are responsible for the most complaints? Not surprisingly, surgeons were named much more often. Male doctors, which suggests that women doctors may be more sensitive to patient concerns. Busy doctors, right? That's a red flag. Perhaps because they spend less time with their patients or less attentive to their concerns. Two factors, however, didn't seem to make much of a difference: age and country of medical training. So this is really interesting, how your age and where you receive medical training made absolutely no difference compared to certain characteristics as to whether you're a male and you act like you're too busy, right? And I always complain about, oh, why do people act like they're too busy, and then you're basically causing a rift between the people who who you're trying to serve and essentially, AKA, give you money, um, and them seeing you as like, you are the problem, right? Um, so let me just kind of keep reading this. So here, let's just skip to this. Nearly a third said their doctors had not talked with them enough or answered their questions adequately. 13% said their doctors didn't listen to them. And then a Vanderbilt team found that obstetricians who had the most lawsuits were likely to be named in a patient complaints elicited in a survey. They didn't listen, didn't return phone calls, didn't show concern or respect, were rude, right? So I hope our findings remind doctors that their patients can be a valuable source of information about how we're doing and how we can do better. Um, okay, and so let me just kind of scroll down here. Malpractice lawyers concur. People skills are crucial, right? And I think this is probably the most important part of the article. So let's go ahead and read. Boston plaintiff's attorney Alice Birkin has been representing injured patients for nearly 20 years. Over that time, it become obvious to her that while many doctors make mistakes, only some get sued, right? I think this is very insightful. And I think you could kind of relate this to like being a landlord. Like, hey, if you're a landlord, you're not going to be perfect, right? But I think the lesson that we can see, okay, even if I'm not perfect, just as long as I'm communicative and empathetic and I listen to the tenant's concerns, it's probable. Again, I'm not going to predict the future. I'm not giving legal advice that they're not going to sue me, right? The most important factor in many cases, besides the injury itself, is the quality of the patient's relationship with the doctor. Quality of the patient's relationship with the doctor, right? And then just replace patient with tenant and doctor with landlord. People just don't sue doctors they really like. We've had people come in saying they want to sue some specialists, and we'll say, we don't think that doctor was negligent. We think it's your primary care doctor who's at fault. And the client says, I don't care what she did. I love her and I'm not suing her. So this is crazy, right? This is the story I heard on the live stream where basically some person says, oh, I want to sue this person for screwing up. It's the specialist, but the specialist didn't make any mistakes. They were probably just rude and not communicative. And then once they do like the malpractice research or whatever, then it's like, oh, it's your primary care doctor who made the mistake. And then, human beings were not rational. We just kind of like do a Jedi mind trick. Like, no, I'm not suing that person because I like that person. See, like, this is the most important part of the article about why, if you fear lawsuits as a landlord, one of the defenses that you have, again, I'm not giving any legal advice, I'm just reading this article about doctors and how it could kind of relate to landlords. One is that you just have to be likable and communicative. You could screw up. I'm pretty sure I've screwed up many times. And I'm not saying you can actually screw up. I'm just saying that, hey, you know, there are doctors out there who've majorly screwed up, and the doctor who didn't screw up ends up getting sued, right? Because they're not communicative. Being communicative and likable, and being able to explain things and connecting with the people who pay you is one of the most important skills that you can have. And folks, I've seen this many, many times throughout the years where it's just like the person who you're paying to serve you acts like they're either too busy or they just don't care, right? And so, because unfortunately, you know, people's headspace, and this has been true for a long time, right? So this isn't just true in the era of cell phones. This was also true before then, although it seems like the cell phone has kind of magnified this sort of mindlessness, but people have been wronging other people for a long time and just not listening, right? Like, let's say, we did have a misdiagnosis. If we felt like the doctor who was supposed to take care of us had at least tried or pretended to care, right? Pretended to care, it's very probable that we don't sue them. Because why would we want to sue somebody who cares about us, right? It's when, even if the person does us right, and they display to us, hey, I don't care about you, right? And we say, and we don't even pretend to like care about them, right? Like, even pretending to care is such a valuable skill. They just, you know, we like, people are kind of blind to, like, why this person sue me, right? But we have years worth of research to figure out, what ticks off a person, and what's going to make what when you're at risk of a lawsuit in the medical field, and then you could just relate it to being a landlord, right? And again, this is from 2003. I am so surprised how articles written 20 years ago that were insightful are even more relevant today. Like, someone has to, like, kind of republish this article, right? Or, like, kind of, what do you call it when you republish articles, give it a new date, new title, so that it could go up to Google rankings? Like, do they have a name for that? I don't know what it is, but I'm just saying, like, this is amazing, right? This is amazing. And this gives you insight that not making a mistake shouldn't be your number one priority. It's being communicative, right? So we should actually strive for both skill, talent, and communication, but just realize that communication takes a little bit more precedence than skill and talent. Okay. All right. Well, this is Korean Atlanta Mentorship. So hopefully that was an insightful article. Again, not a lawyer, not giving legal advice. Don't listen to anything I say. Have a great day, everybody, and we will speak next time.